Yeah, I think the screwworm is still having an impact. I don't think it's necessarily on a back burner.
Hi again, everybody. Welcome back to the Comstock channel. I'm Marlin Bohling. I'm pleased to be joined by Relph of Comstock Investments as we put a bow on this trading week. Take a look at Friday's market action, and wow, he had some surprises in the markets. Look at the soybeans and the wheat markets go for a change. Obviously, something kind of came out of left field there. Eric, what's the story here?
The primary story is that the EPA released biofuel blending requirements that exceeded trade expectations by about 65%, roughly. So the idea that we're going to blend more of our soybean oil and hopefully our ethanol, if we can qualify it, and get U.S. products being used in sustainable aviation fuel through these biofuel mandates, who knows what the demand increase could be. And so you had soybean oil up the limit. Soybeans were up as much as 30 cents at times, but finishing in the upper 20s higher. And I think what you saw in the wheat was short covering, just probably due to what we were seeing in the soybean complex, as well as what's going on overseas. And I think that's going to have an impact on everything right now.
There's so much chaos going on here in the U.S., over in the Middle East, Russia and Ukraine. I mean, oh my gosh, there's so much stuff going on. And of course, a lot of tension with China as well. Economic markets are all in turmoil right now. I saw where the equity markets kind of took a beating. And on the other hand, that seemed to really be a big, heavy burden over on the livestock trade today.
I think that was a big part of it. Also, we were seeing some fundamental influence that maybe warranted some of that, but not to the extreme that we saw today. You've asked me before, and I've said it to many people, that what's going to give me conviction that the top is in the cattle. And at least for a time, I think you have to have the combination of a lower weekly close as well as lower cash trade. This week we got the lower weekly close. I don't know if we're going to get the lower cash trade. We are seeing numbers that are a little shy of last week in the north, but exceedingly higher in the south, where we saw Texas and Kansas trade some 235 to 240, primarily 235 down there, which was still higher than the previous week. So the cash trade on a weighted average may come in a little bit lower, in which case you would have both of those things, but we won't know that until we get the AMS report on Monday midday. So this does look a little heavy. The Packers are buying with quite a bit of time. I know that majors are trying to push all the way out to the week of July 7th with some of their purchases right now. And I think that's got to be a result of limited labor force due to deportations or raids by ICE and Homeland Security and that we've heard of this week. Not because they're taking all these people, but because others are scared to go to work. We even have clients who have hired hands that are illegal, who have voiced their concerns about even going to Walmart. So they're having delivery orders done and things of that nature. So it's really changed a dynamic here, and I don't really know if we can see the forest through the trees, as you said yesterday.
Well, what about this screwworm issue that had caught a lot of headlines recently? Has that fallen back onto the back burner now, or is that still a big factor here in the livestock market right now?
Yeah, I think the screwworm is still having an impact. I don't think it's necessarily on a back burner. Within a half hour of sitting down here to record with you, I received some news articles from a client who's obviously receiving it from someone else. So it is circulating that there have been confirmed human cases of screwworm in Mexico. I don't want to raise a huge red flag here because it is still occurring in Mexico. We do still have containment policies in place. And so I don't want to sound a major alarm here, but it is definitely something that people are still focusing on and still reacting to. And so I think that probably was another factor that we saw weigh in today.
All right. I want to swing back here to the grains for a little bit. It was surprising to me, especially where we had almost no market reaction at all when the WASD numbers came out on Thursday. Yeah. And yet you had such extreme ranges here on a Friday. I mean, I just wondered if there was more to the story than just the RVO numbers.
You know, it didn't seem like it because we were fairly quiet even into the morning break this morning. But then that news comes out and right off the open, we're shooting 25 cents higher. I think that was the catalyst. I just didn't hear or see anything else that led me to believe that there was other major influencing factors. The muted reaction to the crop production and WASDE report wasn't, it was maybe a little more muted than I would have expected, but maybe not overly shocking. This report is not the big one of the month, let alone the year. The big one's going to be at the end of the month. And I think traders are going to be bracing, and you're going to see some chaos surrounding that one, whether it's warranted or not. You're going to see some large market swings. And this was just one of those placeholders, and I think most viewed it as that, and they just chalked it up to check the box, move on to the next one.
Well, speaking of chaos, of course, there could be all kinds of things going on over the weekend. And we all know about the situation between Israel and Iran. I just wondered how much that could spill over and possibly impact the U.S. ag market. Sometimes deals like that can cause a flight to quality, as they say. I just wondered if that would be beneficial for like the grain markets or not.
Generally speaking, you would think so. We did see a large bump in gold today. That had to be flight to quality. We were seeing some money suck out of the equities and go into gold, but we were also seeing money flow into the dollar today. May have been nothing more than profit taking as we made a multi-year low this week. But if we're going to continue to strengthen the dollar as a safe haven asset, then that would maybe offset some of the impacts that we would see otherwise. However, I think anytime there's uncertainty, there is a flow into durable goods, U.S. ag products being some of those.
Okay, next week is going to be a little unusual. Now we have a holiday in the middle of the week. It's for the Juneteenth federal holiday. No trading that day, right?
Correct.
Okay, so that'll kind of cause some disruptions by itself without everything else going on. Mm-hmm. How do we handle that? I mean, does that cause any weird things to happen in the marketplace?
If you ask most traders if there's a turning point in the grain markets during the growing season, you would probably hear a lot of them respond with something about the 4th of July. And that has been the case for years. I made the comment last year that maybe Juneteenth is the new 4th of July, not only because it's this holiday that they inserted into the growing season, but also because we plant so much faster and we try to get in earlier. And so the maturity of the crop is further along by that June 19th time frame than what it would have been 10 years ago or even 3 years ago. And so it feels like a more impactful time, and any break in the market seems to be somewhat of a pivot point. Now, this holiday is a dated holiday, so it can fall on any day. This year, it falls on a Thursday. It has fallen on a Monday or Friday, I can't remember which, but created a 3-day weekend that has been a pivotal point since we started recognizing this holiday. So I don't know if this year is going to be one of those deals, but I said that sarcastically, but in a way it kind of makes sense too, because you're hitting that maturity point where things can change. And if the weather forecast changes over an off day in the market, you could see some real reaction come Thursday night.
Well, regardless, a lot can happen over this weekend in particular with so much going on in the background. So be prepared for anything. Monday should be exciting one way or the other. And I appreciate you helping us navigate the choppy waters heading into the weekend. Hope you have a good weekend out there, Eric. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Thanks, Marlin.
You bet. Eric Relph with us from Comstock Investments, and that'll do it for this Friday episode. Thanks again for tuning in. Appreciate it. For producer Brianne Jenkins, I'm Marlin Bohling. We'll catch you next time here on the Comstock channel.
Futures trading involves risk. The risk of loss in trading futures and/or options is substantial, and each investor and/or trader must consider whether this is a suitable investment. Past performance is not indicative of future results.